Hello students, and welcome to the next lesson in our AS level psychology course. Today we're going to be looking at section 3, which is all about attachment, and particularly looking at human attachment and Bobbies theory. The evolutionary theory of attachment. There are two main theories which are going to explain why organisms attach. In this lesson we're going to be looking at the evolutionary theory. In order to survive, species will attach to their main caregiver who has a role to give them food and protection which will give the child a survival advantage. This is an ability or a trait that will increase the chances in survival for the child. Bobbies theory of attachments. Bowlby was a scientist that said that an infant has a biological need to form an attachment to its main caregiver. The attachment in humans is far more complex than animals, henceforth they don't imprint. If you want to look at the video on imprinting, be sure to check out the channel and check it out. Bowlby said that an infant's attachment was a monotropy. This means that it's an attachment to only one person, henceforth its main caregiver particularly. He also stated that attachments are reciprocal. They're a two-way process, so if a baby would attach with its caregiver, the caregiver would also form an attachment with that baby. Social releases. Bowlby said that social releases were signalling behaviours from the child that identifies the need for its protection, which then triggers an attachment from the caregiver. Bowlby stated that the babies are then programmed genetically to engage in these behaviours. The mother will respond to the social releases because she shares the genetic material with the child. As a result, she's going to want to look after her investment, and that will satisfy the baby's need for protection and form an attachment with the both of them. Attachment hypotheses. There are two hypotheses he developed that based on attachments. The secure base hypothesis is a hypothesis that states that if children feel sufficiently confronted by their caregiver, they are more likely to explore the environment which they are put in. The continuity hypothesis is that there may be consistent early care to form an attachment which will then improve social competence of a child. So if a child is brought up with really good care, then they're going to have high levels of social competence when they're older. If they're not given very qualitative and consistent care, then they're not going to have very high levels of social competence. The internal working model. This is another idea that was developed by Bowlby. He said that it's a blueprint for an individual's future needs of having an emotional relationship as a result of the infant's relationship with the caregiver. For example, people who feel the need to have a strong relationship with a partner will probably be because they had a very strong relationship with the mother. Therefore, the internal working model will then want and force them to want to have a similar relationship to the one they were brought up with. So how do the attachments form? Bowlby said they form in a fixed sequence. The first stage is a non-focused orienting and signalling phase. In the first few months, an infant will engage in social releases. They develop a preference for the company of people who then satisfy these social releases. Then they're going to start to focus on one or more figures. At 3 months, the infant will demonstrate the recognition of those who provide the most care. Then they start to prefer the people who are going to start giving them the most consistent care. The final stage is a secure-based behaviour. At 6 months, signalling behaviours are only directed to its main caregiver. If the caregiver leaves, they can show separation anxiety. Now we're going to evaluate Bowlby's theories. Schaefer and Emerson showed that the children can form multiple attachments, so this defies his whole idea that attachments were a monotropy, where they can only form with one person. The continuity hypothesis is supported by O'Connor et al. He showed that those who didn't receive the necessary care earlier on were rated as less socially competent by other people. The secure base hypothesis is supported by Harlow's experiment that he did with his monkeys. What he did is that he showed them around a specific area after he had kept them with their cloth and their other wide mesh mothers, and if they felt that they were sufficiently converted by the cloth mother, they were more likely to explore an environment which he put them in. Bowlby's idea of separation anxiety is backed up by the facts that infants may not have object permanence. Object permanence is when a baby when they stop seeing a certain item and they think that it completely is gone and doesn't exist anymore just because it isn't in their line of sight. As a result, if they don't see their caregiver, they feel separation anxiety because they think that their caregiver has stopped existing. Also, Bowlby put too much emphasis on the mother and stated that she was the one that the baby would feel attached to. Research shows that some babies prefer to do certain activities, such as playing with toys, with the father, hence showing that this probably isn't true. Here are some questions. What I'd like you to do now is have a go at attempting these on a separate sheet of paper. Once you've finished, hit play after you've paused the video and then you can check out the answers. Here are the answers. If you got all of these right, congratulations. I'd advise you to move on to the next video, which will be on classical conditioning. If you want any more help for your psychology revision, be sure to check out www.reviselevel.co.uk, where you can get additional help from essays and glossaries. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.